3,000 years this way, and the Jewish people have persevered, unfortunately, with tremendous pain. And we are suffering now. There's no reason why kids have to go to school today with police cars and red tape and smoke and so on and so forth. It's uncalled for. It's unnecessary. We should have learned our lessons from history. But if you don't learn from history, history repeats itself.
Lavoie reporting for Rebel News, and I'm currently in Dollars des Ormeaux in Montreal, where the synagogue congregation Beth Tikvah has been the victim of a second firebombing attack. For those who may not recall, in November 2023, this same place of worship was targeted with a Molotov cocktail during the night. This time, the attack, which was reported to the Montreal police just before 3 a.m., resulted in a fire causing minor damage. Witnesses in the area claims to have seen someone fleeing the scene of the crime early this morning. Also, a window at the Federation Sija, a Jewish advocacy group located across the street from the synagogue, was also broken. Antisemitic acts in Montreal have been on the rise since October 7, 2023, when the conflict between Israel and Hamas reignited after a terrorist attack led to the death of 1,100 Israelis. Since then, the city has seen demonstrations featuring pro-terror slogans and calls for violence.
Death to Canada! Death to the United States! And death to Israel!
Jewish schools have been shot at during the night. Jewish places of businesses have been vandalized with glass breaking and received death threats.
We're gonna kill you one by one.
Firebombing of synagogues have taken place internationally, while politicians such as Mayor of Montreal Valérie Plante, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and Quebec Premier François Legault have publicly condemned these criminal acts. On social media, no concrete measures have been taken to prevent or stop these crimes. To further illustrate how these acts go unpunished, consider the case of Imam Adel Sharkawi, who, during an anti-Israel protest on the streets, openly called upon Allah to exterminate and kill the enemies of Gaza. He wasn't prosecuted. Additionally, an owner of a Second Cup coffee store who worked at Jewish General Hospital was seen performing a Nazi salute and advocating for the final solution, a direct reference to the Nazi plan to exterminate European Jews.
Final solution is coming your way. The final solution.
She was then fired immediately by the company once her identity was known to the public. Despite the gravity of this incitement to hatred, the SPVM took weeks to apprehend this individual, highlighting the lack of urgency in addressing such heinous crimes. These actions, which openly incite hatred and violence, must be met with the full force of the law. The city of Montreal must take proactive measures to prevent public calls for genocide and anti-Semitic slogans. Failing to do so only emboldens perpetrators and increases the likelihood of more heinous crimes against the Jewish community, as we are witnessing. Are we trivialize and normalize crimes against the Jewish community? A community that seeks only to live in peace? Demonstrations featuring anti-Semitic slogans continue weekly, while the SPVM does little to address these hateful messages and criminal acts. Who is responsible for allowing our Jewish community to feel unsafe? Some members of this community are now considering leaving Quebec altogether. With the ongoing surge in mass immigration and the acceptance of individuals from regions like Gaza where anti-Jewish sentiment is often deeply ingrained, the future may hold even more challenges for a community already targeted. I want to have your thought on the fact that your place of worship have been the victim of hate crime.
Unfortunately, this is like on the anniversary of the first firebombing, and it's happened to it now a second time almost a year later, and it's very distressing to know that there are hateful people out there who, instead of discussing issues as difficult and significant as the issues might be, take it upon themselves to violate sacred ground, and a synagogue is sacred ground, and we respect, and we should hope we have reciprocal respect for everybody else in terms of the way they want to worship or practice their personal lives, in terms of their sacred tasks.
What do you think of the current situation in Montreal when we see hate crimes rising and skyrocketing at this point?
It's like COVID out of control. Unfortunately, there's no cure. You can have, a vaccine for it and stave it off, but it's an endemic thing that seems to be just festering. And unfortunately, if there's no consequences for these kind of evil deeds, it'll just perpetuate and even grow. And sometimes the people don't know why they're protesting, what they're protesting. They don't know the facts. They don't know what rational conversation or discussion is, respecting others' the rights, and this destruction of property, and this destruction in terms of trampling basic human rights and human values.
What do you think about the reaction and the action taken by Mayor Valérie Plante that is responsible of Montreal?
I don't want to pick on individuals and so on, but again, we do not see the kind of strong follow through in terms of consequence. And if there's no consequence, then you close your eyes to the reality, and you see it festering, and you see hateful. Truly hateful that we thought were wiped out, unfortunately, with the Holocaust, post-Holocaust, that we would not see a repetition. But the same slogans and the same hate mongering and slogans marching and destroying property. Actually, whether it's a synagogue, other institutions, or just downtown, just destroying for the sake of destruction, and no consequence. And the police, only praise for them. They were here since 6:30 this morning, and they were doing everything in the arsonist's court, looking after everything and making sure, and really having empathy with us. But at the same time, they know, as we know, even if there is a arrest, and still we have no arrests for a year already, or no follow-up even, it's not the police's fault. Even if we do, within 24 hours or 2 hours or 25 minutes, and they're out on the street doing the same thing. It's been 3,000 years this way, and the Jewish people have persevered, unfortunately, with tremendous pain. And we are suffering now. There's no reason why kids have to go to school today with police cars and red tape and smoke and so on and so forth. It's uncalled for. It's unnecessary. We should have learned our lessons from history. But if you don't learn from history, history repeats itself. And that's my greatest fear.
We all woke up to the news, being notified that there was an incident at the synagogue. And of course, we were very concerned and alarmed. We rushed over, and thank goodness nobody was hurt. But of course, there's damage, and it was an act of violence, and we were very stressed.
The window near the front door was broken. An incendiary device was thrown inside the building. There's some damage to the door and the entryway.
The police came right away and cooperated with us and helped us. So we have it's in their hands now. It's very alarming and concerning, but we are a strong community. We won't be intimidated by acts of hate, and we will rally together and we'll stand up, and we will come out of this strong.
We're living in troubling times right now, and the government has to step up. It's got to stop. When
there is a lot of protests and violence in the city, when things are allowed to happen, then things escalate. And unfortunately, it might be a green light for people to be more violent and hateful. So that has to stop. It's concerning, definitely concerning, hoping for some change, hoping for action. And when something like this happens and it touches our home, we hope there will be consequences and that we learn and we move forward with a different reality. We encourage people to show support, show solidarity, and hate and violence against any community is unacceptable. So we hope that things will change and that people will not remain silent and that we can all use our voice to make a change.
Words are not enough. We need action and we need consequences. We need them to step up, and there needs to be consequences for actions like this.
Don't forget to go and sign our petition at canadastandwithisrael.com. On this website, you can sign the petition, make your voice heard, and make sure you are supporting our